So welcome back everybody to the lecture, and today we're going to be focusing on protein. And I'm wondering, have you ever wondered why your meat, poultry, and seafood are oftentimes considered as entrees or main dishes, whereas your vegetables and potatoes are considered side dishes? And we can look back as recently as 50 years ago, the abundant protein was basically found in meat, poultry, and seafood, and that was considered to be a mainstay of a nutritious diet. But these days, you would see that peas, beans, even your pasta, your grains might take center stage when we talk about, components of a nutritious diet. So we start off with fact, and if we look, is it impossible to eat too much protein? I hope that you answered, fact, because like carbohydrates and fats, when you consume way too much protein, it definitely does cause problems because protein cannot be stored in your body as protein. It will be converted to fat. So when you consume too much protein, basically it leaves very little room for other important nutrients, for your fruits and your vegetables, because protein has this satiety effect and it keeps you feeling longer for, extended periods of time, and you might miss out on important nutrients. So what are proteins? Basically, proteins are compounds that are found in all living cells in animals and plants, and they have a variety of different important roles. They are such important substances that basically the term protein was derived from that Greek word to mean first. And we see that protein can reside in your skin, your hair, your nails, your muscles, and your blood, just to name a few places. Whereas if we look at carbohydrates and lipids, they are used primarily for energy. So, our proteins functions in a very broad sense to basically build and maintain your body. And what makes each amino acid unique, okay? So if we kind of look at carbohydrates and fats, protein contains your same thing, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. But unlike your carbohydrates and fats, protein contains nitrogen and provides much of the body's nitrogen. And if you look, nitrogen is necessary for the body to function. And life as we know it wouldn't exist without nitrogen. So basically, your protein are long chains of amino acids strung together, in different ways, so like in different railroad cars to make up a train. So kind of remember that, okay, your amino acids, different railroad cars, and then they strung together and they make up a train, which is your protein. So basically, amino acids are the building blocks of your protein. And as you can see in this picture, what makes each amino acid unique, it's that variable side group. Okay, every amino acid is going to have a different side group, and it's the amino acid backbone is always the same for all amino acid, but it's a side group that varies. And so out of we see that we have 20 amino acids in proteins, and 9 either cannot be made in the body or cannot be made in quantities that are needed. And so they therefore must be obtained in food for the body to function properly. And that's why we call them essential amino acids. The remaining 11 can be made in the body, and they are called non-essential amino acids. So that is the two difference. Essential, you have to obtain it from your food. The non-essential, basically, they are made from your body. And again, these are the 20 different types of amino acids. You do not need to memorize them, but these are just the names and also how you pronounce it. And some of the common ones are your lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, also glutamic acid, or your glycine. Okay, but again, you don't have to remember this. And coming down to why proteins are important. So, after we review all the jobs protein performs, you will have greater appreciation for this nutrient. And if we just look, okay, protein function is part of the body structure. For example, like we mentioned in a couple of slides ago, that your protein can be found in your skin, bones, hair, nails, fingernails, muscles, and blood vessels, the digestive tract, and even your body tissues. And worn-out cells are replaced throughout the body at regular intervals. So for instance, your skin today will not be the same skin in a few months, and a skin cell only lives about 1 month. So skin is constantly being broken down and rebuilt or remodeled as most of your body cells, including the protein within those cells. And if you look at your cells in your gastrointestinal tract, those are replaced every 3 to 5 days. And the greatest amount of protein is needed when the body is building tissues rapidly. And as we will see later, pregnant women and also young kids, in early infancy, they would require higher amounts of protein. The other thing that protein plays an important role is the function of enzymes, hormones, and antibodies, because enzymes are needed in food digestion. And if you remember learning this in science, enzymes are catalysts, meaning that they increase the rate of these reactions sometimes more than 1 million times. And so enzymes basically break down substances, your food during digestion. They can also build up substances such as bones, and they can also change one substance into another, such as changing your glucose into glycogen. And hormones are your chemical messengers that are secreted into your bloodstream by various organs. So, such as your liver, to travel to a target on organ and influence what it does. So hormones basically regulate certain body activities so that it maintains a constant internal environment, and that's what we call homeostasis. So um, if you remember, your hormone insulin, it's released from the pancreas when your blood sugar level goes up after lunch, and then insulin stimulates the transport of sugar from your blood into your cells, and that results in a normal blood sugar level. So amino acids are your components of your insulin as well as other hormones. In terms of antibodies, its job is to bind with foreign bodies or invaders, what we call as antigens. And so these invaders could be your virus, your bacteria, or your toxin. And so, for example, if you have like a cold, okay, and the antibody will kind of bind with that cold virus, um, and exposure to this cold virus will result in an increased amount of that specific type of antibody that can attack it. So next time, you have that a particular cold virus that comes around, remember that your body makes the right antibodies, and so it can be destroyed faster, and your immune response will be sufficient to combat that disease. Protein can also act as taxi cabs. So basically, they transport your iron, minerals, your fats, and your oxygen in your body. Think of your hemoglobin, your red blood cell, that carries oxygen from the lungs to the cell of your body. Also, a protein plays a role in your fluid balance and acid-base balance. So basically, think of, all your normal body processes, they when all your normal body processes basically that produce acid or bases in reasonable amounts, and so these acids and bases can be carried away to your kidney and lungs for excretion. And it's very crucial that your blood does not build up these high levels of acid or bases, and your blood has to remain within a normal range. Otherwise, a dangerous condition which we call acidosis, above normal acidity, in the body and body fluids, or alkalosis, okay, above normal alkalinity, can occur, and that can even result in death. In that. So basically, some proteins in your body have the ability to buffer or neutralize both your acid and your bases. And of course, proteins can provide energy as a last resort, okay? And they provide for 4 calories per gram if absolutely needed. But if you're using burning amino acids for your energy, it takes away from, vital functions. And so some amino acids can be converted to glucose when necessary to maintain your blood glucose level. And finally, your protein is also involved in clotting the blood when you cut your cells and your blood vessels are injured. And this, protein fibers, which we call as fibrin, helps form a clot so that bleeding stops. So this is all the information that you need to know. I won't go into detail, but, kind of summarizing some of the key points that I mentioned. And also, the instruction to make your protein in your body resides in the core of the nucleus of each of your body cells. And in the nucleus of these molecules, what we call the oxyribonucleic acid or DNA, it contains vital genetic information. And if you remember, your DNA, it looks like this two long paired strands that spiral into this famous double helix. And basically, every human cell, with the exception of your mature red blood cell, because those actually do not contain any nuclei, they contain some of your DNA. And so each of this DNA molecule in the nucleus is housed in a chromosome. And if you remember your chromosome, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes in each of your cells, and the segments of your DNA molecule are what we call your genes. And it's the gene that basically carries a particular set of instruction that allows a cell to produce a specific product. Okay, so maybe think of your enzyme in this case. So some of the food sources of protein, we can find protein food groups, and it's one of the best. If you look at your MyPlate, we have your meat, eggs, fish, and we also have some plant sources of protein as well, like your beans and nuts, okay? And a serving of protein, when you look at your MyPlate, it's just 1 ounce, which is actually, quite small. And when we eat protein, we typically eat 3 to 4 ounces of protein. And even though 7 grams of protein per ounce is what is shown here as the amount of protein in the protein food groups, we probably get about 20 to 30 grams every time we eat a serving of protein-rich food. And so these are some of the best sources, your dairy food groups, excellent source of protein. Think of your yogurt, your milk, and your cheese. Your grain group, okay? It's low in protein, but you can still find protein in grains. Basically, you can see some of the good sources of protein is your quinoa, your oatmeal, okay? And we can also find protein in your fruits and vegetables. But again, that is actually, it contains moderate amounts of protein. And when it comes to grains, okay, some sources of grains, not all sources of grains are low in protein, like quinoa is a grain that is really high in protein. But most of the time, most grains, they contain about 1 or 2 grams per serving. And like I mentioned, fruits and vegetables are kind of low in protein in general. And so, protein can be found in your animal and plant food. And if you look here, 1 ounce of protein is equivalent to like 2 tablespoons of hummus, 1 egg, 1 ounce of tempeh, okay, and half ounce of nuts. But remember that if you're consuming protein from your animal-based products, usually they have more protein fat, more saturated fat, and more cholesterol than your plant-based protein. And now we can basically break up our protein into two different groups, which is complete versus incomplete. And, basically your animal proteins, they contain all your 9 essential amino acids in the proportions that it is needed. And, think of your meat, poultry, and eggs. And, even human breast milk. Those are really good examples of your complete proteins. On the other hand, we also have plant proteins, okay? And plant protein basically, we consider them incomplete because they do not have all the essential amino acids that our body needs, okay? And so basically think of your plant protein like your soybean, your buckwheat, your quinoa and amaranth. Those are some examples of complete plant protein. And but if you're taking into consideration your beans and nuts, grain vegetables and nuts and seeds, they're always low in 1 or more essential amino acid. And that essential amino acid in that lowest concentration in a protein is what we call as your limiting amino acid. So to just kind of summarize, to kind of remember that plant proteins are usually incomplete where they lack one essential amino acid. And so you have to eat a combination of plant foods, to get that limiting amino acid. And you do not have to eat it in each meal. But let's say if you have your bread in during breakfast, you can actually have peanut butter as a snack later on. So it has to be eaten over a course of the day. And so when you have this sufficient amount of, different types of food groups, it can provide all that 9 essential amino acids, and you can have that really high quality diet. And so to kind of remember the definition of limiting amino acids, basically it's the essential amino acid in the lowest concentration that limits protein usefulness unless another food in the diet contains it. So, although plant proteins are incomplete, it does not mean that they are low quality. When certain plant foods are eaten, such as peanut butter and whole wheat bread, are eaten over the course of a day, the limiting amino acid in each of these protein is supplied by the other food. And such combinations are what we call complementary proteins. And this is the case when grains such as whole wheat bread are consumed with legumes such as peanut butter, or when rice is eaten with beans. Beans supply plenty of the amino acid lysine and isoleucine, which are both lacking in grains such as rice. And grains have plenty of methionine and tryptophan, which are lacking in beans and other legumes. So additional examples could be your bread and split pea soup, bread and cheese, bread and baked beans, macaroni and cheese, vegetable and nuts. And in adequate amounts and combinations, plant food can supply the essential nutrients needed for growth and development and overall health. And many cultures around the world use plant protein extensively. Again, different groups of combination, as we can see, grains and legumes, legumes and nuts and seeds, vegetables with nuts and seeds, grains and vegetables. And we also have, other pairings that you can actually use, again, kind of like hummus and walnut burgers, oatmeal and milk, black bean and cheese burritos, yogurt dressing. So as long as you just, you do not have to eat it all in one meal, but, have it over the course of the day, you can get your essential amino acids from your plant-based protein. And with that, I will end here. It. But